Hello, this is Miss Kaye from the Public Library, and I have a story to tell you today. So, it's been a long time, so I hope you'll enjoy this story. It is a Halloween story, but remember, it's just a story. It's not really a true thing. Mrs. McMurphy lived on the edge of the forest, and every morning she would go down and she would go to the hen house and she would sing to the hens, and then she would throw their food for them. And then she would go over to where the cows were in the barn, and she would pat the cows on their rump and pet their backs and scratch their little heads. And then she would sit down and she would milk the cows and she would thank them for their milk. And then she'd go out to the pigs and she would slop the pigs and she'd play with the pigs and she'd say, "Now, you little pigs, if you escape from your little pen today, I'm afraid I'll have to make you into bacon." And then she would smile and scratch them behind the ears and go on in. Well, 4 days before Halloween, Mrs. McMurphy came down the steps to her house. And when she came in, she saw that sitting right in front of the front door, there was a pumpkin. And the pumpkin had a big old mouth. And that pumpkin looked at Mrs. McMurphy and he said, "I have my mouth today, so I can speak to you. But when I get my teeth, I'm going to eat you." "Well," said Mrs. McMurphy, "that's not very nice at all. But pumpkins do not belong in the house. Pumpkins belong on the porch." So she picked up that pumpkin and she carried him out and she put him on the porch. 3 days before Halloween, Mrs. McMurphy came down the steps and she was fixing to go outside and milk the cow. And there, sitting on her sofa in her living room, was a pumpkin. And that pumpkin had a big, scraggly mouth, and he had a big, crooked nose. And he spoke to her, and he said, "I have my nose today, so I can smell you. I have my mouth, so I can speak to you. But when I get my teeth, I'm going to eat you." "Well," said Mrs. McMurphy, "that's all well and good, but pumpkins do not belong on the sofa in my living room." And she picked up that pumpkin and she carried him outside and she put him in the shed in the backyard. 2 days before Halloween, Mrs. McMurphy went outside to go and slop the pigs. But before she went out, she looked, and there, sitting right inside the kitchen, was a pumpkin. And today he had two pointy ears. And that pumpkin looked at her and he said, "I have my ears today. I can hear you. I have my nose so I can smell you. And I have my mouth so I can speak to you. But when I get my teeth, I'm going to," that's right, "eat you." Well, Mrs. McMurphy said, "You know, you really should mind your manners. I am very busy today. Perhaps you could come tomorrow and we could have some milk and cookies." And she picked up that pumpkin and she carried him out and she threw him in the river beside her house and he floated away. 1 day before Halloween, Mrs. McMurphy came into her house she came downstairs and she was fixing to clean her house. And there, sitting right on the counter in the kitchen, was a pumpkin. And today that pumpkin had some mean old eyes. And she looked at that pumpkin and he said, "I have my eyes today. I can see you. I have my ears and I can hear you. I have my nose and I can smell you. And I have my mouth and I can speak to you. But when I get my teeth, I'm going to eat you." Well, Mrs. McMurphy said, "You know, you really do need to learn some manners. That is just so rude, and I don't have time for this today." And so she took a box, and she put him in the box, and she sealed it, and she addressed it, and she sent him to Alaska. Halloween morning, Mrs. McMurphy came downstairs, and there, sitting right on top of the stove, was the pumpkin. And he looked at Mrs. McMurphy and he said, I have my ears to hear you with, and I have my eyes to see you with, and I have my nose so I can smell you. But today I have my teeth, and I'm going to eat you. And Mrs. McMurphy said, we'll see about that. That night was Halloween. And there were ghosts and vampires and werewolves and superheroes and princesses and ballerinas. And they all trailed up the steps to Mrs. McMurphy's house. And they knocked on the door, and slowly the door opened. And there, standing inside, was Mrs. McMurphy. And she had for each child a big, thick, good-smelling, sweet piece of pumpkin pie. That's how all Halloween stories should end, isn't it? I guess she told that pumpkin. Okay, well, I have a song for you today, and we'll sing it a couple of times so that you can learn the words. Okay, it's going to be a tune you probably know, and it says, I'm a little monster on Halloween. My eyes are purple and my face is green. When I get all scary, I scream and say, candy, please, or trick you I may. Are y'all going to trick anybody on Halloween? I hope not, but I hope you get lots of good stuff. Can you sing it with me again? It goes, I'm a little monster on Halloween. My eyes are purple, my face is green. When I get all scary, I scream and say, candy, please, or trick you I may. One more time. I'm a little monster on Halloween. My eyes are purple, my face is green. When I get all scary, I scream and say, candy, please, or trick you I may. Thank you, and I'll see you next month, and happy Halloween.